If you're tired of throwing your unlosable games and you have no idea what's going wrong, remember these simple things. Approaching the high ground in Dota requires careful wave management. It's important to have at least two lanes of creep waves pushing towards the enemy's tier 3 towers before initiating the siege. This strategy serves two essential purposes. By having two lanes of creeps pushing close to enemy's base, you force the opponents to make difficult decisions. They may be forced to deal with the creep waves, which opens up opportunities for your team to take objectives or initiate team fights elsewhere on the map. In case the enemy cuts one of the lanes from behind while you're trying to go high ground, you still have the other lane to continue the pressure. This prevents the enemy team from easily stalling the game and maintaining their defenses. Aegis is a game-changing item during high ground siege. Having the Aegis on your team provides several advantages. During high ground siege, it's important for core heroes to avoid diving too deep into the enemy base. This is because tier 3 towers deal significant damage. If the core dives too deep, the support may struggle to follow up due to tower damage. This leaves the supports exposed and vulnerable to being picked off by the enemy team. While going to the enemy high ground, the enemy has a vision advantage, allowing them to predict and counter initiate on overextended heroes. Instead, it is advisable for the core heroes to focus on hitting the tier 3 towers from a safer distance and position, forcing the enemy to respond and create openings for your team to exploit. Before hitting high ground, make sure your BKB major spells are not on cooldown and your Aegis is not about to expire and you have a buyback available in case of a mistake. Let's analyze a bad high ground approach by 9 pandas in Riyadh Masters. If we look at the tree waves on both side lanes, they're almost in the middle of each lane, which means the Radiant side is not threatened by any other lane and they can easily defend the mid as 5. Alchemist Aegis is about to expire and his ultimate is on cooldown, which shows Alchemist cannot really fight at full potential, which gives an opening to Radiant. The fight becomes 45 as Alchemist's only option in this scenario was to run as he has no spells. This bad calculation ended up 3-4-0 trade and they had to back off, which gave Radiant a chance to come back into the game. Aegis should be given to the hero that is going to hit the high ground tower. Gaimin Gladiators almost made the same mistake in Riyadh Masters as 9 pandas while trying to approach high ground. They tried to take high ground from a single lane while the rest of the two lanes were not pushed close to the tier 3. This play can be punished in two ways. Tundra fortify and clear the mid wave while one of Tundra's hero cuts the wave from behind, which will apply backdoor protection to tower since there will be no creeps. Or Tundra takes a 5v5 fight at mid using high ground advantage. They decided to use the high ground vision advantage and burst Medusa, which was Radiant's main damage. Now in this case, Gaimin will play to protect Medusa because she doesn't have Aegis. Tundra will be playing to take Medusa down. This leaves Gaimin in a rough spot where they cannot fight properly unless or until Medusa survives. Medusa dies and the fight is over because now Gaimin used everything to protect Medusa and she doesn't survive and they have nothing to fight Tundra. They end up losing 3 heroes and Aegis. In the same game, Tundra also makes the high ground mistake. Snapfire clears the top lane and teleports back to defend high ground, which helps Gaming only focus on team fight and not worry about other lanes getting pressured. Initially, the fight was very good for Tundra as they take down 3 heroes of Gaimin, but they ended up diving tier 3. This dive costs them the game as Gaimin punishes the tier 3 dive by buying back and taking the fight because Tundra has used all their major spells to win the fight. This gives Medusa 2 levels, 1.5k net worth and free time to get more items as Dire's heroes are dead for too long. This play shows the importance of correctly approaching high ground. Instead of diving tier 3, Tundra should have just let the brute take the tower, and in case of buybacks, they could have left the bottom lane, fixed top and mid lane wave and approach high ground with an Aegis. By throwing the game on high ground, Tundra gave Medusa time to farm, and Medusa got Divine and was able to foreshot Tundra's carry brood. Medusa got so big in terms of items that it got really hard for Tundra to fight, and this all happened because they did not approach high ground properly. Gaimin learned from their mistake and took Roshan. This time, the Aegis was given to Medusa because Medusa is one who is supposed to hit the high ground. Now, even if Tundra somehow bursts Medusa once, they won't be able to take her down second time, as Gaimin won't panic while taking fight, and while taking down Medusa once, all the big spells of Tundra will be used. Remember, it is very important for supports to not show up on map while taking high ground. I have seen support players hitting a high ground tower and showing themselves on map, and they end up dying first which turns the entire fight as the opposite team can kite your cores and win the fight even if your cores are ahead in net worth. The way Gaimin approaches the high ground this time is amazing. This time Medusa, the hero who is supposed to hit tower, has Aegis and Gaimin has pushed 2 lanes close to tier 3. Even if Tundra cuts any lane from behind, Radiant can shift to another lane. Spirit Breaker cuts the middle wave and Gaimin moves to bottom. And they're not even diving to kill heroes because they understand how it can change the game. The purpose of the game is to take objectives, not get the kills. Despite having Aegis, Medusa is not carelessly hitting tower. That's because if she gets lassoed by Batrider and put into Dire's base, Gaimin players will have to take the fight in tower, which will ruin the positioning of all their heroes and supports will be in vulnerable position and they can lose the fight like that. Tundra even timed the charge perfectly, but they couldn't coordinate the lasso on Medusa, which ended up putting the Spirit Breaker in a bad spot. Even though it's 5 versus 4, Gaimin goes back to adjust the middle lane. Don't go to high ground when other lanes are not fixed. It can put you in a spot to throw the game. And also make sure if Roshan is available, get the edges and then go high ground. After pushing the middle lane again, Gaimin sieges tier 3. Medusa is the only hero that's hitting the tower, while supports are standing far away and other two cores are standing close to Medusa to help her. This is something we need to realize how important the role of positioning is in Dora. They take the objective, which is tier 3 tower, and fall back because Spirit Breaker is about to respawn and Aegis is about to expire. Taking a fight in this situation could be risky. Gaimin goes back and waits for the next Roshan to approach high ground. Medusa takes the Aegis again and has enough damage to destroy the barracks very quickly. Since Spirit Breaker and Brood show themselves on map and there is no tier 3 at bottom, there is no threat to Radiant and they can take the barracks easily. And with the same discipline, Gaimin goes on to win the game. Had Tundra approached high ground with the same discipline, they would have ended the game a lot earlier. Main takeaways from this video is that while going high ground, you need to make sure your important spells and BKB are not on cooldown. If Roshan is available, get the edges before going to high ground because if you mess up on high ground, the enemy team will get the Roshan. Don't try to force high ground from a single lane. Make sure to at least push 2 lanes when going to high ground and do not dive the tier 3. If you are interested in private coaching, you can join my Discord linked in description. Do let me know in the comments if you have any feedback and good luck with your games.